In 1972, the Philadelphia Eagles were an absolute mess of a team. There were some people who actually had expectations for the Eagles being good in 1972. In 1971, the team started 0-5, but rallied to lose just 2 of their final 9 games, and head coach Ed Kayat seemed like he had his team trending in the right direction. Alas, it was not meant to be, as Kayat, after getting the permanent job and getting the interim tag removed, infamously became a dictator who alienated everyone, stripping each player of every bit of personality they had, and enforcing a dress code that made the New York Yankees dress code look like public school, as the team, once again, started 0-5. Only this time, they continued losing down the stretch, ending the year with a 2-11-1 record, which was tied for the fewest wins they've had in the season since the United States entered World War II. The offense was a disaster. In 7 of their 14 games, the Eagles put up 7 points or less, and only twice did the Eagles score 20 or more points in a game. Unsurprisingly, the Eagles' average of 10.4 points per game was dead last in the entire NFL, and no other team was even in the same vicinity as them. Defensively, the Eagles were not much better, as they finished bottom 5 in the league, headlined by an infamous game against the New York Giants, where they allowed 62 points and lost 62-10, which was the biggest blowout win in Giants history. Philadelphia's point differential of -207 was the 3rd worst total in the league, and by a large margin, easily the worst point differential in the NFC. There are many stats that showcase how bad the Eagles were, but to give you an idea of just how inept they were, there were 26 teams in the league in 1972. If you double the Eagles' point total, they would still finish 15th in the league in points scored, still finishing in the bottom half. Seriously, if each touchdown was worth 12 points when the Eagles scored it, and each field goal was worth 6 points, and each extra point was worth 2, the Eagles would still have an offense that finished in the bottom half of the league. That's how awful the 1972 campaign was. Fortunately, Eagles fans are known for being extremely patient and extremely kind. It is, after all, the city of brotherly love. So Eagles fans were accepting of this disappointing season. They just threw their hands up and said, "Meh, it happens," and were ready to embrace the team with open arms for trying their best. And if you believed anything I just said over the last 30 seconds, go see a doctor, because that most definitely did not happen. It didn't help that of the 7 home games that the Eagles played in 1972, they did not win a single one of them, as their 2 wins came on the road against the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium and against the Oilers at the Astrodome. So Eagles fans had to suffer through loss after loss. Of the 7 games that the Eagles played at home, 6 of them involved the Eagles losing by multiple possessions. In their home finale against the Chicago Bears in Week 13, the fans were so frustrated that some of them literally stormed the field after the game and chased the players into the locker room, in something straight out of a scene when a big South American soccer club gets relegated. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. The fans were ticked off after a 12 straight season of not making the playoffs, and after a 6 straight season of finishing below 500. And I can't exactly blame the fans, because I'd be ticked off too. But would I go as far as this one fan did? Probably not. Because one fan was so disgusted by the play of his team that instead of spelling EAGLES Eagles, he spelled LAWSUIT lawsuit. Meet Alexander Rubin, also known as Andy, according to his obituary, as he passed away in 2018 at the age of 93. Rubin had lived in Pennsylvania for most of his life, going to Lafayette College, and then, after undergrad, going to the University of Pennsylvania for law school, even graduating with honors. That's going to make this story, as absurd as it might seem on the surface, even more insane. Rubin was an attorney and graduated from UPenn, which is literally an Ivy League school and the number 4 ranked law school in the nation, only behind Yale, Chicago, and Stanford. This isn't just some hack who decided to sue without any understanding of how the law worked. This was a successful attorney and a really smart man. However, no matter how smart someone may seem, everyone has their breaking point. And for Rubin, the Eagles were his breaking point. After another horrible start to the season, as they were 1-6 through their first 7 games, and just lost 21-3 on the road against the New Orleans Saints, marking the first time ever that the Saints did not allow a touchdown in a game where the Saints picked up their first win of the season, where the Saints outgained the Eagles 432 to 209 in total yardage, and in a game where the Eagles quarterbacks combined to go 8 for 21 with 57 net passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a completion percentage of 38%, and a passer rating of 11.7, which is worse than if it did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. Rubin had enough. Rubin was a season ticket holder for the Eagles and decided that he paid money to watch a professional football team, not whatever the heck the Eagles were masquerading as. So, he filed a class action lawsuit and got 3 other fans to join in: Howard Bacon, Joseph Baronato, and Boyer Vadich. Said Rubin on the suit, "I have filed a class action lawsuit against the Eagles on behalf of season ticket holders." Basically, the claim is that the fans contracted for a performance of a professional football team at a professional level, and there has been a failure of consideration. We seek our money back. We seek our money back for the final 4 games. That's the legal phrasing. In other words, I keep reading how some people are suggesting boycotting the home games. Well, that isn't going to mean a darn thing, because they've already got the money in their pocket. The suit is based on the performance against New Orleans. I will be looking for witnesses who will testify that what they saw was not comparable to a professional team. A walkthrough is what I call it. He also added that when he bought the season tickets, it was a 2-way contract with the team, and the Eagles violated the contract because their performance is below the level of competence expected at such encounters. If that sounds stupid, rest assured that I went to law school and I took contract law in my first semester. I still have my contract law textbook, which definitely didn't scar me for life and definitely didn't bring back bad memories, and I decided to pull it out. This book is over 1,100 pages long, and there are a lot of pages about consideration. And upon rereading it, I can confirm that, yeah, this sounds really freaking stupid. Time to get lawyerly for a second, if I may. There are 3 elements of a valid contract: offer, acceptance, and consideration. One party must propose something. The other party must accept the thing. Both parties must be getting something of value, whether that be a good or a service. In other words, if you pay me $100 to paint your house, I get money and you get your house painted. We both benefit from the deal. If you pay me $100 and I don't do anything, that's not a valid contract, because you don't get any consideration out of this. You get nothing of value whatsoever. Here, Rubin is arguing that because the Eagles are losing, he gets nothing of value by giving money to the team for the season tickets. However, let's break down why this is stupid. Number 1, it should go without saying, but when you buy your season tickets, or any ticket for that matter, the contract that you are agreeing into is for the seat. I pay you money, and you give me a seat at the game. That's why the Packers and Steelers fans at Super Bowl 45 sued the NFL. Steelers fans didn't sue because they lost the game, but rather because they bought a seat for the game and were not given that seat. so they got nothing of value. If you pay money to the Philadelphia Eagles for season tickets, there is no guarantee that they are going to win the game. You are paying for the right to sit in the stadium, which back then was actually a pretty big deal, seeing as all home games, regardless of whether or not they were sold out, were blacked out. Today, it might not be as big of a deal, because if you can't go to the game, you can watch it on TV. But back then, if you weren't in the stadium and your team was playing at home, you had to either listen on the radio or go outside of a 75-mile radius of the home city to watch the game. So it's absolutely insane to argue that you don't get value out of this and you don't get any consideration. You get the right to watch your team play, which is a pretty limited right, seeing as Veterans Stadium can only hold so many people. The Eagles gave you a ticket. You accepted the ticket. The Eagles got money out of this, and you got a seat to watch your team play. That seems like a pretty valid contract to me. When judges rule on cases, oftentimes, they'll think about the precedent that this would set with their ruling. And here, it's pretty obvious what the precedent would be if Rubin won the case against this team right here. Professional sports as we know it would completely collapse. Sports are a unique industry. Let's go back to the painting example. If the painter does a bad job with my house, I can sue the painter because I got nothing of value, and he did not fulfill his end of the bargain. However, there are no external forces stopping the painter. It's not like there is an opposing painter who's trying to make the paint job look like crap. It's not like there's someone on the other side who's trying to tackle the guy as he's painting my house. There is nothing stopping the painter from doing his job as outlined in the four corners of the contract. But in sports, there is always an opponent. It's impossible for both parties to win. Someone is going to leave unsatisfied. And we know that sports are unique because that's the whole reason that Major League Baseball got an antitrust exemption roughly half a century before this case. If you just allowed fans to sue anytime their team didn't play up to their arbitrary standard, every team would fold and would be involved in constant litigation battles. If he's trying to argue that the Eagles are not a professional team, well, they might suck, but by definition, they literally are. They are a team, and the players are being paid. That is a professional team. The eyewitness testimony isn't going to help you, even if you had a case, which again, you don't. And part of why is because your suit is based on the game against the Saints, which may remind you was a road game. You suffered absolutely no damages. You did not pay for the game. You cannot suffer financial damages for something that did not even financially impact you. You have no standing. If the government in South Africa misappropriates funds, I can't sue the government of South Africa because my wallet is exactly the same, because I didn't give any money to them and do not pay taxes in South Africa. Even if you had standing, which again, you don't, but let's just pretend that you did. Your argument that they didn't play like a professional team doesn't hold any water. The Eagles turned it over 3 times during the Saints game. The Falcons and Chiefs turned it over more times than that against the Saints earlier in the season. The Eagles weren't even the first team that failed to win against the Saints, as the 49ers tied them the previous week. And you're not even the worst team in the league at this point. The New England Patriots had a worse point differential than you, and the Baltimore Colts and Houston Oilers had identical records, with the Oilers allowing more points than you did. So if you're calling out the Eagles for this, when this isn't even the bottom of the barrel, and we've seen teams go entire seasons without a win, and we've seen teams way worse than you, then you have no case. And as if this couldn't get any stupider, Rubin sued the Eagles because he wanted his money back for the remaining games. If he won the suit, which I think you can tell by now, he did not, as the case got dismissed for being a waste of everyone's time, he would have received $50. To file the lawsuit, he spent $64. This means that even if he won the lawsuit, even if he won, he would have lost money. Not only do you file a lawsuit that you had no chance of winning, but you lost money to do so. After everyone laughed at Rubin for the suit, because who wouldn't laugh at this, Rubin fired back, saying, "Everyone took it as a joke, but I'm deadly serious. I have too much respect for the law to clown around with something like this." That's like saying, "I have too much respect for gun safety to clown around with guns," as you fire off an AR-15 at the roof of your house. Again, this was a licensed attorney who went to arguably the top law school in the country and graduated with honors. This was a guy who had to get cold called on hundreds upon hundreds of times. This guy seriously thought he had a chance of winning? I've got nothing. Genuinely, I've got nothing. It's almost ironic that the man passed away on March 22nd, 2018, meaning that the final game he ever saw his Eagles play was them winning the Super Bowl. According to his guest book when he passed, he remained an Eagles fan even after the Eagles told him to shove it. So take that for what it's worth. Losing sucks. I get it. I'm an Arizona Diamondbacks season ticket holder, and I'm absolutely disgusted with the state of the team right now. As I'm recording this, I literally just saw Pavin Smith take strike 3 right down the middle on a fastball. I don't know why he's playing, but I digress. I've been to tons of Jaguars games where they were uncompetitive and where they got blown out of the building. I understand his frustrations, I do. But you can't sue a team just because your team lost. You bought season tickets for the right to have that seat for X amount of games at a set price, and that's the only right you get. You don't guarantee the outcome of a game that could go either way. If you genuinely think that, then here's an idea. Don't buy season tickets, and don't buy tickets to a team that had a losing record every year for the past half-decade if you don't want to deal with the fact that maybe, just maybe, they might lose. Because thanks to Andy Rubin, even if his Eagles were losing on the field, at least they were winning in the courtroom. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.